the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're set up for success. So I have my story idea from yesterday, and then I have a plot diagram drawn out, so make sure that you draw out a plot diagram. Within my plot diagram, I need to make sure that I identify exactly where the flashback is going to be. And in our discussions yesterday, we know that it's going to start at the beginning of the rising action, and then the climactic point is going to be included in there as well. So I'm sectioning off that area. That's going to be my flashback. I mapped out in my exposition that an elderly man from the Vietnam War is in a nursing home and then his daughter visits. So that's all happening in the exposition before the flashback. So I've got to write down some things about, okay, the setting, what's he feeling, what's he thinking, what's his conversation, because I'm going to have something that triggers that flashback. And I've thought about this a few different ways, and I think I'm going to go with the fact that his daughter is wearing some type of necklace. But the opening scene here, I'm going to have elderly man sitting in, I'm going to say a wheelchair. And I think that I'm going to make him, because he's got to learn something from this, my character is going to have to change from the beginning of the story to the end. So I am going to have him in pain, in physical pain. From whatever wound I'm going to give him when he was injured and captured in his flashback. So an elderly man is sitting in a wheelchair in physical pain. Now that that's established, I need to have his daughter come in wearing that necklace. So, daughter sits with him. I want to show the fact that he's angry or kind of seems to hold a grudge towards the war, because I want his attitude to change. So the daughter sits with him. They talk about the war and the old man is, we'll just have him be kind of crabby. Now, as far as the catalyst for what's going to trigger that flashback, I'm going to say nervously, because sometimes his daughter isn't always going to know like what to say to her dad to calm him down. So nervously, the daughter plays with her necklace. Now at this point, I'm not going to want to reveal that the necklace is her mother's and that's why the flashback is triggered, because I don't want to reveal that part of the relationship until later. But the sight of the necklace, and I'm going to really have to make sure that when I actually write the story that I describe the necklace really well, but there I have my exposition written. So I have for my flashback that he's going to be injured and captured by the enemy. A nurse heals him and helps him escape, but since her life is now at risk for helping him, he brings her back to the United States. That is a lot that is happening there. Them boarding, I'm gonna have to look this up and do a little research to see if it makes more sense if they would board a boat or board a plane or get on some type of vehicle maybe for their escape. But that escape is definitely going to be that climactic point. So I'm gonna jump over, and I know it seems kind of weird because I'm gonna skip this part of the rising action right now, but I am going to go to this climactic point, and we're gonna have they escape. that's going to be like the ultimate thing, that they escape and they're going to be heading towards the United States. So I have a lot that is going on in my flashback: injured, captured, healed, running for their lives or whatever it happens to be, that risk, and then the escape for that climactic point. So I might have to reduce some of this, and I don't think I'm going to actually like show the fact that he's injured or have that war part. I think instead, since the necklace is that catalyst and what's going to trigger that flashback, I'm going to have the necklace be the first thing he's going to see when he wakes up and opens his eyes in the rising action. So in this flashback, I'm going to start it with he's going to have his eyes closed and feels, I'm going to make it a burning pain from a bullet wound in his leg. So there I've got the first thing that's going to happen, but at this point I have his eyes closed, and then he's going to open his eyes and sees the necklace and a kind-faced nurse packaging his wound. So I know I'm being graded on dialogue, so at this point I think it makes sense for the nurse and him to have a conversation about his situation, and it should be revealed the danger that she's putting herself in by helping him. So I'm going to make sure that I'm really clear about the fact that I'm going to have dialogue, and they discuss his situation, which is he's captured by the enemy. And that she is taking an immense risk by helping him. But at some point I'm gonna have to reveal that they're like falling in love with each other because he ends up marrying her. So I should give him some type of, like, he feels indebted to her, like he owes her something. We're gonna start with that he feels indebted to her. So I'm getting to the point where I have a lot going on here, and while this would make for a fantastic novel, I'm just writing a short story, so I need to move things along here. So I'm going to kind of just skip ahead in time a little bit in this flashback. So I'm going to say after days, and maybe I'll change it later and make it weeks, but for now I'll just leave it at days. After days of her caring for him, well, if he felt indebted to her, then we would call it his obligation to her turns to fondness and then love. So now he's going to want to protect her. That's going to come to a point where maybe this would be another good spot for dialogue. whoopsie, there we go, dialogue where she expresses fear for her life and he can't imagine his life without her. Perfect. So then I'll create their escape. Again, I'm gonna have to decide, am I just gonna have them leave the camp, or what is it that I'm gonna have them do? But now I have a couple of situations where I have dialogue. I kind of jumped ahead a little bit in time and didn't describe like every single little detail day by day, and jumped ahead by using that after days of her caring for him, what's going to end up happening. By the way, at some point before I actually get into the writing of this, I'm gonna have to decide these characters' names. So if you haven't quite figured that out either, I mean, it's fine to do your storyline like this, but if you can get their names down, that's really gonna be beneficial for you. So coming out of my flashback, I wrote that he realizes that terrible war brought he and his wife, the nurse, together. So I gotta come out of the flashback, and since he was kind of in pain before and sort of crabby, I think I'm going to have a twinge of pain in his leg brings him back. Brings him back to present day. He was crabby with his daughter, so now he offers a gentle smile to his daughter and wraps his hand around hers, which is holding the necklace. So maybe I'll have him say like the last line for the resolution, where I'm gonna have the theme revealed, where he maybe says, you know, if it weren't for that awful war, and that wretched bullet, I would have never met. I would have never met your mother, or the love of my life, your mother. Never met. We'll just say the love of my life. Dash for effect, your mother. Bam. So there I have my entire storyline fleshed out a little bit more, what's going to happen in each area, and that's what I want you to make sure you have done for class time tomorrow.